Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Here is your mathematics teacher, Miss Tamara, with you in your mathematics class of grade 4. I hope, my dear students, you all are fine and safe. My dear students, our today's topic is about equivalent fractions. As in the previous lesson, we have studied a little about the types of fractions, but we have studied in detail about the like fractions. So today we are going to study about equivalent fractions. The objectives of our today's lesson are: after this lesson, we shall be able to define numerator, denominator, and equivalent fractions. To identify and create equivalent fractions using different methods. So let's start learning and let's recall our memory that what is the fraction? Yes, a fraction represents a part of the whole. In the fraction, the top number is the numerator and the bottom number is always the denominator. You can see different examples of the fractions in front of you. Yes. So now, again recall your memory and tell me, what is the numerator? Yes, dear students. The top number of the fraction is always called as numerator. And what is the denominator? Yes, we call the bottom number as the denominator, and denominator always tells us the total parts, that how many parts of the whole is divided into. You can see the picture that what is the numerator and what is the denominator in the fraction. So now what are the equivalent fractions? When two or more fractions have the same result after simplification. Simplification means that when we multiply or we divide with the same number for which they represent the same portion of the whole, then such fractions are equal to each other and they are called as equivalent fractions. For example, 1 by 2 and 2 by 4, 1 by 3 and 3 by 9. You can see the different equivalent fractions in front of you. First fraction we have 1 upon 2. If we multiply 2 by the numerator and denominator, we get as 2 by 4. And if we multiply 3 by the numerator and denominator, we get as 3, and 2 times 3 is 6. And if we multiply 4 with the same fraction, that is 1 upon 2, then it will be 4 upon 8. My dear students, always keep it in your mind that you have to use the same number for numerator and denominator when you are multiplying or you are dividing. Why fractions are same in equivalent fractions? Do you know about it? Here is a rule that we should remember. Using multiplication or division, change the bottom and same to the top must be applied. Like either you are multiplying or you are dividing, the same thing you have to do with the top number and with the bottom number. So the fractions are same because when we multiply or divide both the top and bottom by the same number, the fraction keeps its value same. Like 1 upon 2, we have, when we multiply numerator 1 by 2, we'll get the fraction as 2 by 4. And when you will multiply 4 with the same fraction, you will get 1 times 4 is 4 and 2 times 4 is 8. So the fraction will be 4 upon 8. As you can see, I have tried to show it by using different arrows. Very good, yes. I hope, my dear students, you are understanding about it. Yes, like this you can make the different equivalent fractions. But keep it in your mind that you have to multiply or you have to divide by the same number. As you can see that the first fraction is 18 upon 36. So here we have divided 18 and 36 by the same number, and that is 3. And again we have divided 6 upon 12 by the same number, that is 6. So 6 divided by 6 is 1 and 12 divided by 6 is 2. So in this way you can make different equivalent fractions. Now my dear students, let's start learning by using some examples. As today we are going to learn about equivalent fractions. So if we have one example and we have a fraction in front of us, that is 3 upon 4. So what to do now to make its equivalent fractions? We have to multiply the numerator and denominator of this fraction with the same number. And if the numerator and denominator are present in the same table, then we can divide. Otherwise, we have to multiply. Like here, in 3 upon 4, we cannot divide it because 3 and 4, they both are not present in the same table. So it means here we shall multiply to make its equivalent fraction. So here we are choosing number 2 for multiplication with the numerator and denominator. So when you multiply 2 by the numerator and denominator, so this is the equivalent fraction of 3 upon 4. How did we solve it? Because we have multiplied the numerator and denominator by the same number. So if we have the fraction 6 upon 8, you can see that 6 and 8, they both are present in the table of 2. So here we can divide to bring its equivalent fraction. We can also write it in this way: 3 upon 4 multiply 2 upon 2. My dear students, keep it in your mind, when we multiply, numerator can be multiplied by the numerator and denominator can be multiplied by the denominator. So you can write it in this way also. So why we are multiplying it by the same number? Because we can divide 2 by 2 and it will be equal to 1. And when we multiply the fraction 3 upon 4 by 1, it will be equal to 3 upon 4. So that's why we have to multiply or divide by the same number, because we are adding it by ourselves. And when we add by ourselves, we have to do the same thing on both the sides. Like this, you can see that when we multiply 3 upon 4, it will be equals to the same fraction, that is 3 upon 4. So it means how it is equivalent to 6 by 8. I hope you understood about it. Here you can see that if you want to change this equivalent fraction to this, it means you can divide, because 6 and 8, they both are present in the same table, and that is the table of 2. So when we multiply the same number with the numerator and denominator, we get the same fraction. So now let us take some more examples at how we can write the different equivalent fractions. Like here, we have 2 upon 4. So now here, first you can check that 2 and 4, are they present in the same table? Yes, they both are present in the table of 2. So, to get its equivalent fraction, we can divide the numerator and denominator by the same number, and that same number is 2. 2 divided by 2 and 4 divided by 2. If you can divide these numbers directly, you can, otherwise you can make the working column and you can do step by step. You can see here that 2 divided by 2 is 1, and when we divide 4 divided by 2, 2 times 2 is 4. So it means when we divide 4 divided by 2, we get as 2. So it means that the equivalent fraction of 2 by 4 will be 1 upon 2. So in this way, you can write different equivalent fractions for different fractions. Now, if you have one other equivalent fraction, so you can see now we cannot divide it by the same number because they both are present only in the table of 2. So here you can choose one number to multiply by the numerator and denominator. So we can multiply the numerator and denominator by the same number, that is 2. So 4 multiplied by 2 is equals to 8, and 2 multiplied by 2 is equals to 4. So 2 upon 4 has two equivalent fractions here in front of you. 1 upon 2, 4 upon 8. In this way, you can just make the different equivalent fractions. Next, you can multiply it by 3 with the numerator and denominator to get the next equivalent fraction. When you will multiply it by 4, then you will get the next equivalent fraction. So in this way, you can get different equivalent fractions by multiplying or dividing the same number with the numerator and denominator. I hope, my dear students, you have understood about the equivalent fractions, and now this is your turn to practice for this. Let us summarize our lesson. A fraction represents a part of the whole. And we know that in a fraction, the top number is called as numerator and the bottom number is called as denominator. And what are the equivalent fractions? Yes, when we multiply or divide the same number by numerator and denominator, the next fraction will be the equivalent fraction of it. The rule we should remember, that is, using multiply or divide, change the bottom and the same to the top must be applied. Let's end our lesson with this beautiful saying, the only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics. So we have to do a lot of practice. Thank you, my dear students. Take care. Allah Hafiz.